Hello dear viewers, today I invite you to an extraordinary journey into the world of Slavic mythology. This is a collection of stories, legends, and beliefs that shaped the worldview and culture of the ancient Slavs. The Slavs were a people who inhabited a vast area of Eastern and Central Europe, from the Baltic Sea to the Black Sea, from the Elbe to the Volga. They were divided into many ethnic groups that differed in language, customs, and traditions. However, they shared many common features, such as a love of freedom, respect for nature, and strong family ties. In this film, I will present to you the most important aspects of Slavic mythology, such as the creation of the world and gods, the characteristics of individual deities and their functions, the creation of humans and their fate, the most important Slavic rituals and mythological creatures such as the ghost, the nightmare, the striga, the werewolf, and many others. In the beginning, there was nothing, no sky or earth, only an endless ocean of darkness and chaos. Veles swam in this ocean. He was the god of the earth, under the earth, waters, magic, art, and trade. God was lonely and bored, so he was looking for something that would interest him. He did not know that there was a god above the ocean. The light was bright, warm, and vibrant. Perun lived in this light, the second living being. Perun was the god of the sky, thunderstorms, and wars. He was the highest god in the Slavic hierarchy and the patron of rulers. Perun was also lonely and bored. Perun turned his attention to the ocean and saw Veles. He became interested in him and began to talk to him. Veles heard Perun's voice and raised his head. He saw light for the first time. Perun calmed Veles and proposed cooperation. He asked him to dive into the ocean and fish out earth for him. He promised him that he would create a world from the earth. Veles thought it might be interesting, so he agreed to help Perun. He dived into the ocean and began to search for earth. He grabbed a handful of sand and emerged to the surface. Perun took the sand from Veles and began to form it in his hands. He made various shapes from it and threw them upwards. These shapes became the earth, which was diverse and full of life. Perun was strong, brave, and just. His name meant lightning or strike. He was the lord of order and law, and also the defender of people against. He was the most important god among the Slavs. He had many temples and altars where sacrifices of cattle, horses, roosters, and other animals were offered to him. Perun had a wife named Perperuna, who was the goddess of rain and storms. Together they formed a heavenly couple who ensured the harvest and fertility of the earth. Perun helped people fight their enemies, protected them from diseases and misfortunes, and provided them with justice and order. Veles was wise, cunning, and changeable. He was the lord of chaos and the protector of animals and plants. Veles was the second most important god among the Slavs. He had many groves and caves where sacrifices of sheep, goats, dogs, and other animals were offered to him. Veles was also the protector and patron of people, especially farmers, shepherds, and sorcerers. Veles helped people cultivate the land, raise animals, and cure diseases, and provided them with happiness and wealth. People and animals arose from the earth, which was the work of Perun and Veles. The earth was full of life and diversity, and people and animals were part of it. People lived in harmony with nature and respected all its beings. They recognized that each thing has its own. They worshipped the gods for their soul and power, who were their guardians and teachers. The gods gave them gifts such as fire, agriculture, crafts, art, and law. People were divided into different tribes and clans, which had their own customs and traditions. Each tribe had its ruler, who was chosen from among the wisest and bravest people. The ruler was responsible for the well-being of his people and for maintaining order and justice. According to legend, such rulers were Lech, Czech, and Rus. Lech ruled over the glades, where he built the castle of Gniezno and adopted a white eagle as his coat of arms. Czech ruled over the mountains, where he founded the state of Bohemia and adopted a red lion as his coat of arms. Rus ruled over the steppes, where he founded the state of Rus and adopted a blue trident as his coat of arms. People lived in simple houses made of wood, clay, and straw. They cultivated the land, bred animals, and hunted wild animals. They dressed in clothes made of wool, linen, and leather. They adorned themselves with jewelry made of metal, bone, and stone. They used tools and weapons made of wood, stone, and metal. the Slavs enjoyed. They celebrated important events in their lives, such as birth, wedding, harvest, and the changing of the seasons. They had fun, sang songs, told fairy tales and legends, learned from the elders and passed on their knowledge to the younger ones. Perun and Veles created the world, but they were not satisfied with their cooperation. Perun believed that Veles was too chaotic and irresponsible. Veles believed that Perun was too harsh and despotic. Both wanted to have more power over the world and the superhumans who lived on Earth. A conflict between them broke out when Veles decided to steal Perun's cattle. Cattle were a symbol of wealth and fertility for Peru, as well as a source of food for humans. Veles wanted to take them to his underground kingdom to raise them and enjoy their company. So he took the cattle from Perun's pasture and hid them in a cave. Perun realized that his cattle had disappeared and guessed that Veles was responsible. The god of thunder became angry and decided to reclaim his property, so he gave chase to Veles, who was fleeing from him on the ground. Perun threw lightning bolts at him, and Veles responded with spells and illusions. The fight between them lasted a long time and was very stormy. Their clash influenced the world and people. When Perun threw lightning bolts, he caused hailstorms and fires. When Veles fled across the earth, he caused earthquakes, floods, and plagues. People suffered from these cataclysms and feared for their lives. Finally, Perun caught up with Veles and dealt him a fatal blow with lightning. Veles fell dead to the ground, and his blood mixed with the water. Perun regained his cattle and returned to heaven. This was the end of the fight between Veles and Perun. It was a fight between light and darkness, order and chaos, life and death. It was a cyclical fight that repeated every year in the winter. Then Veles was reborn and tried to steal Perun's cattle again, and Perun had to defeat him again. This was the Slavs' explanation for the changes of seasons and natural phenomena. They believed that Perun and Veles were contradictory gods, but also complementary without any conflict. Without them, the world could not exist or develop. Slavic deities were not uniform or unambiguous. There were many gods and goddesses worshipped by various Slavic peoples and tribes. Some of them were pan-Slavic, meaning they were common to most or all Slavs. Some of them were local or minor, meaning they were specific to certain regions or ethnic groups. Some of them were questionable, meaning it is unknown whether they were actual Slavic deities or whether they resulted from incorrect interpretation of sources. In this video, we will divide Slavic deities into 4 groups: Pan-Slavic deities, West Slavic deities, East Slavic deities, and South Slavic deities. We start with Pan-Slavic deities. These are the deities that were worshipped by most or all Slavic peoples and had common names or functions. These include the previously mentioned Perun, the god of thunder and lightning. He was the highest god of the Slavic pantheon, the ruler of the sky and weather. Veles, the god of the underworld, magic, trade, and cattle. He was the lord of the dead, the guardian of wealth and mysteries. Peruna, the goddess of rain and storms, was the wife of Perun and the mother of Juwana. She was responsible for bringing rain and also for protecting people from lightning and hail, and other gods such as Sarag, the god of fire and blacksmithing. He was a master of metallurgy and crafts. Makash, the goddess of fertility and earth. She was the protector of farmers and shepherds, and also a master of weaving and spinning. Juwana, the goddess of wildlife and hunting, was the daughter of Perun and Perperuna. She was the protector of forest animals and plants, and also a master of archery and herbalism. Marzana, the goddess of winter and death. She ruled over the world of the dead, symbolizing the cycle of life and death. Swarajik, the god of sun and fire. He was the ruler of day and night, and also the master of warmth and life. Simark, the guardian of the tree of life and the link between worlds. He was the guardian of the tree of life that connected heaven, earth, and the underworld, and also a master of travel and communication. West Slavic deities are those deities who were worshipped by the peoples of the Western Slavic region, such as the Pomeranians, Czechs and Lusatian Serbs. Among them is Radogost, the god of hospitality and joy. He was the patron saint of travelers and strangers and also a master of music and dance. Jarek, god of spring and fertility. He was the ruler of the growth and rebirth of life and also the master of love. Zivia, goddess of life and fate. She was the protector of humans and animals and also the master of destiny and choice. Slavic deities are those deities worshipped by the peoples of the Eastern Slavic area, such as the Ruthenians, Bregovics, and Vlachs. These include the god of the sun and prosperity. He was the ruler of day and night, and also the master of warmth and life. Horse, god of night. He was the ruler of the lunar cycle and also the master of sleep and dreams. Sturzebag, god of wine and air. He was the ruler of clouds, rain, snow, and wind. Rock, god of creation and ancestors. He was the father of all gods and humans. He was the creator of all things and life, and also the guardian of family and ancestors. South Slavic deities are those deities worshipped by the peoples of the southern Slavic area, such as the Serbs, Croats, Bulgarians, and the Macedonians. Include Vesna, the goddess of spring and love, who ruled over the growth and rebirth of life and was also the master of love and attractiveness. Urilo, the god of war and fertility, ruled over fights and victory and was also the master of fertility and harvest. These were the most important gods. Slavic deities are rich and diverse, and their cult is still alive in many regions of Europe. Important events and phenomena from Slavic mythology were not uniform or unambiguous. There were many stories and legends that described various aspects of the lives of people and gods. Some of them were pan-Slavic, while others were local or minor. Here are some of them. Kapala night, the summer solstice holiday, celebrated on the night of June 23rd to 24th. This is the time when the sun reaches its highest point in the sky and the night is the shortest of the year. It was believed that on this night the gates to the world of spirits and magic open, and people could benefit from the extraordinary power of nature. Kapala night was dedicated to the god of fire, fertility and love. People jumped over bonfires, holding hands or in pairs. They bathed in rivers and lakes to cleanse themselves of sins and evil spirits. People also looked for fern flowers, which had magical properties and ensured love and wealth. Wreaths were also an important element in this ritual. These were decorative wreaths of flowers and herbs that virgins would weave and float on the water. It was believed that wreaths had the power of prophecy and could predict the future. For example, if the wreath was caught by the night, it meant that the girl would get married quickly. If the wreath sank or got stuck on the shore, it meant that the girl would be unlucky in love. If the wreath floated with the current, it meant that the girl would be happy and rich. If the wreath floated against the current, it meant that the girl would be poor and unhappy. Giadi, the Day of Remembrance of the Dead, celebrated on the night of October 31st to November 1st, people lit candles or bonfires on the graves of their ancestors to honor their memory and ask for their protection. They also made offerings of food and drinks to ensure their peace and the joy of Marzana's Day, a holiday of farewell to winter and welcoming spring, celebrated on the vernal equinox, March 21st. People made dolls from straw or wood that depicted Marzana, the goddess of winter and death. Then they drowned them in rivers or burned them at the stake to get rid of the evil power of winter. Now I will present to you creatures found in Slavic mythology. I will also tell you how these creatures were associated with various aspects of life and nature. A ghost, one of the most terrifying and dangerous mythological creatures, was an evil spirit of the deceased, who haunted the living and drank their blood. It could take various shapes and forms, but most often looked like a pale and thin man with sharp teeth and claws. A ghost could also transform into animals such as a bat, a wolf, or a dog. It was active mainly at night and avoided light. It could arise for many reasons, for example, from an improperly buried body, from a committed sin, or from a curse. It could also be created by another ghost or by black magic. A nightmare, an evil spirit that attacked people while sleeping and strangling them. She was often identified with Marzana, the goddess of winter and death. She could take various forms, but most often she looked like an old woman or a black cat. The nightmare sat on the chest of a sleeping person and prevented them from breathing or moving. It could also cause nightmares or hallucinations. The nightmare could be brought on by bad dreams, illnesses, or evil forces. It could also be sent by a witch or a sorcerer. It warns a woman or girl with two souls, one human and one animal. The Striga was often born with 6 fingers or toes or with 2 hearts. She was immortal and had the ability to shapeshift into various animals, most often into predatory birds. She attacked people and animals and fed on their blood and entrails. A Striga could arise for many reasons, for example, from improper baptism, incest, or a curse. It could also be created by black magic or by another Striga. Werewolf, a person capable of changing the shape of a wolf. A werewolf was strong, fast, and agile. It hunted people and animals and ate their flesh. It was active mainly at night and during the full moon. A werewolf could arise for many reasons, for example, from the bite of another werewolf. A skin or curse could also be created by black magic or by God. A domovic, a good guardian spirit of a house or farm, lived behind a stove under the threshold in an attic or in a barn. A domovic cared for the well-being and peace of the family. He was treated as a family member and was to be shown respect and gratitude. A domovic liked to be left food, especially milk, bread, and butter. He hated arguments, mess, and mistreatment of animals. A domovic could get offended and take revenge on the hosts or leave the house. He could also move with his family to a new home. If asked, a rusalka was associated with water, forest, and fields. She took the form of a beautiful woman and was often considered the soul of a deceased virgin who drowned or committed suicide. A rusalka seduced men with her singing and dancing. Then she killed them or dragged them into the water. She could also ask people riddles, and if they didn't answer correctly, she killed them. A rusalka was active mainly in spring and summer when she emerged from the water onto land. Noonday, a field demon that attacked people. The noonday goddess, who worked at noon while harvesting or mowing grass, was considered the soul of a woman who died before her wedding or was abandoned by her beloved. The noonday goddess appeared as a whirlwind, an old woman or a beautiful girl strangled, tickled, or wounded her victims with a sickle. The noonday goddess could also cause fainting, dizziness, or illness in humans. She was active only on hot days. The goddess inhabited swamps, lakes, rivers, forests, and mountains. She was the personification of the forces of nature. The goddess was hostile to humans and destroyed their property and crops. She was often identified with a nymph or a nightmare. She took the form of an old or young woman, usually naked or dressed in white. The goddess kidnapped children and swapped them with her own. She also attacked women after childbirth, taking their milk or choking them. The lord of the forest and animals had the power to protect nature. He was friendly to people who respected the forest and its inhabitants. He helped them hunt, heal, and find their way. He was not kind to people who destroyed the forest or harmed animals. The goddess played tricks on them. He lost them in the forest or sent wild beasts after them. He took the form of a tall man with a beard and long hair, dressed in green leaves or fur. He could also change his appearance into any animal or plant. Drowned man, the spirit of a drowned man who found no peace after death. The drowned man lived in deep waters where he waited for his victims. He dragged people who were swimming or fishing to the bottom. The drowned man could also come to the shore and attack people walking by the water. He took the form of a pale and wet man, usually dressed in the clothes he had drowned in. Viper, a giant dragon that fed on people and animals. He was the guardian of treasures hidden underground or in viper caves. He was extremely strong and resistant to ordinary weapons. He could fly, spit fire or venom, and hypnotize his victims. Viper, a great snake with horns, wings, and scales. Devil, a demon of human origin who sold his soul to devils in exchange for wealth, power, or other benefits. The devil was treacherous, greedy, and cruel. He used people for his own purposes and did not honor agreements. Could also tempt. People were forced to sell their souls to the devil. The devil was the embodiment of bad luck and misfortune that constantly haunted people. The devil was inevitable and impossible to protect against or get rid of. It took various forms, for example, a black cat, bat, spider, or butterfly. The devil spoke ominous words to people or made strange sounds. These were just some of the mythological creatures that inhabited the world. According to Slavic mythology, they were a source of fear and admiration for many people. They were also part of the Slavic culture and tradition. I hope you liked this video and learned something new and interesting about Slavic mythology. This mythology is rich and fascinating, and its traces can be found in many countries and cultures. Thank you for your support and see you next time. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and click the bell to stay up to date with our new videos. See you.